Dr. Judith here from Atlanta, Georgia. It's Tuesday afternoon at 5, I think it's about 5:10 p.m. And February 4th, 2020. Good afternoon to you all. Hope you're having a super wonderful day. I've had a wonderful day at work. I've eaten well. I've worked hard, really physically hard, as well as mentally, and had a good day so far. And yet, before this night is through, I still have another few hours of work to do. Painting. This painting that I shared with you folks some time ago, it's taken up a big part of my life, a big part of a good big part of my life. And so my desire to paint is almost daily. I have a desire to paint. Sometimes I'm at work and I can't wait to get home so I can paint. So I will do some of that later on after I get through doing some reports that I have to do, and then have a little snack before, and then I will paint, possibly for a couple hours before I go to bed tonight. So before I do all this other good stuff, I'm grateful that I have the physical energy and the mental and spiritual interest to do these things. I'm so grateful to the Lord for his constant presence in my life, and his grace and his mercy to keep me strong physically, mentally, and spiritually so that I can pursue these things. I just spoke to a friend of mine, an older lady. She's probably about 90 years old now. And she's a little, I call her a Trojan horse. She travels all the time, everywhere, so many places. And she is an ambassador for Christ. She does not do this through a church. She does it from her heart. And she travels, and wherever she travels, she talks about the Lord to whomever. And she has grown to be a good friend of mine. And so just heard today that she had some trouble and possibly heart issues. And yet I just spoke to her and checking in with her. Her daughter called me today to let me know what's going on. And I just spoke to her. And as usual, I said, "How are you?" And she said, "Praising the Lord." And when she says that, believe me, she means it. And I pray that I can be that way. No matter what befalls me, that I can stand or lay and sit, whatever, and I can say, though he slays me, yet will I trust him. Though things happen that are not pleasant and not whatever, that he has not left my side, that he has not forsaken me. And so I pray that I can do that more and more as I live growing closer to the Lord. So I just talked with her briefly, and she's in good spirits and trust in God. And one of the things she said is that, well, apparently he's not finished with me yet. Love that. Love that. And so just wanted to share that with you. I'm very blessed to know some strong people for the Lord, some warriors for the Lord, and a lady who does not rest easily. She always wants to do something more regarding the Lord and sharing it with others about him. So I appreciate her a great deal and just thought I would share that with you. Just spoke to her, and as usual, she leaves a good fragrance, when she talks with me, because she's always empowered and feeling, no matter what happens, that God is her Father. He's her Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So that's that for that part of my little sharing with you. And then today I want to share with you briefly my favorite my favorite Bible verses that I'm doing for the last couple weeks now. I started it some time ago and I've restarted it recently. And so I want to share with you Psalm 124. It's only 8 verses, so I'll probably read the whole thing and then focus on a couple of verses. These are, whatever I share with you, are, whether it's from the Psalms or any other book in the Bible, are usually things that I read that encourages me, that establishes me as having a relationship with the Lord. They're favorites because something jumps out at me when I read them. Something, really pulls me in. And something that usually there's something in these favorite Bible readings that I share that reminds me that I'm a child of God, and reminds me that I'm not alone, and that the word is true. Oh God, the word is true. So I want to share with you briefly Psalm 124. And I used to read these in the mornings, 123, 124, 125. And so I haven't done that in quite a while. But I want to share it with you. And it's Psalm 124. And it's David, of course, writing to the Lord, pleading, talking with him. And he starts out by saying, if it had not been the Lord who was on our side, let Israel now say, and there I'll insert, let Judith now say, if it had not been the Lord who was on our side, when men rose up against us, then they would have swallowed us alive. When their wrath was kindled against us, then the waters would have overwhelmed us. The stream would have gone over our soul. Then the soul and waters would have gone over our very soul. Blessed be the Lord, who has not given us as prey to their teeth. Our soul has escaped as a bird from the snare of the fowlers. The snare is broken, and we have escaped. Our help is in the name of the Lord, who made heaven and earth. Isn't that lovely? Reassurance. Reassurance from the Lord. Reassurance, it says here, the Lord, the defense of his people. Reassurance that no matter what we're doing, where we're going, what's going on in our lives, he's with us. And David is clearly saying, if it had not been for the Lord who was on our side. Now I'm sure anyone listening who has accepted Christ and considers him Lord and Savior in their lives could say the same things in using different words. If it had not been him, we wouldn't have gotten over the divorce. If it had not been for him, we wouldn't have gotten over that sickness that we went through. If it had not been for him, the money that I lost in an investment, that would have been the end of me. If it had not been for him when I had family problems, it could have been the end of my family and we would never have reunited. This is what David is saying. If it had not been for you, my Lord, if it had not been for the Lord, what would have happened? What would have happened to me? What would have happened to you? In verse 2, he said, if it had not been the Lord who was on our side, when men rose up against us, then they would have swallowed us alive. You know, on the job, you might have a problem with someone, whatever the issue is. And if it had not been for the Lord who told you to be quiet, trust me, do not avenge yourself. Trust me, I take care of you. I will avenge you. You don't have to you have to continue to be Christ-like. You have to continue to do what is correct in his sight. You have to continue to love people no matter how they desperately use you, despitefully use you. You have to continue to do what is correct in his sight no matter what people are doing. They're railing against you. They're talking badly about you. They're telling lies on you, whatever it is. He's saying show up every day. Show up and still do your job. Do it well as unto me. Do not allow this to make you act untoward, because the truth is that he's the only one that can protect us at all times in all things. So he's saying, when their wrath was kindled against us, when the wrath of man come against you, and it's not that you have done anything, because the truth is, if we want to be honest about it, the truth is that all of us at some time or the other have been accused for something that we didn't do. We have somebody has said something, somebody has told lies on us, whatever it might be. Now, there are times when we have done something that's wrong, that's incorrect, that's wrong in the sight of God, and people come against us. But even there, God will defend us. But we must understand, we also have the consequences to pay for those bad decisions that we make and the negative things that we do. And that's something that I recognize is very hard for people to accept. People talk about grace and they talk about how, God covers them and God protects them. And there's a very famous, it's from the Bible, when you hear people say, well, he's going to make my enemy my footstool. And one of the things I point out to people a lot is that that's fine to say that, but be careful, because he could also make you somebody's footstool according to what you're doing. So we all have to be accountable for our behaviors and understand that because we are his doesn't mean he's going to let us. He's not slack. He's not a slack God. And we still, though he protects us and he holds us accountable, though he protects us rather, he still holds us accountable. And that there are consequences that we will pay according to the choices that we have made. And so that's something that I'm concerned, and I've shared with people in the church. I will say that we have to be so careful. We have to be watchful that we're not, telling lies on God. That, I'm going to avenge you, and I'm going to make sure that nobody does anything to you, and you're not going to have to pay the consequences for your behavior. Not true. Not true. And I can tell you that because I know I've seen myself living out the consequences of some choices. And I can tell you honestly that I was relieved because it eased the burden. God had already forgiven me, but I had to pay the cost in terms of the consequences of the choices that I made. And I can tell you that as I went through and the consequences, I dealt with them, I can tell you, freedom. I live with great freedom. And I tell you another thing that comes along with that. Once I know and I sense that I've paid the consequences for the things that I've done, oh God, it's a freeing feeling. And I think to myself, well, guess what? You don't have to do this crazy stuff anymore. As a matter of fact, with the help of God, you don't have to do any crazy stuff anymore. I slip. We all do. You know that. But at the same time, it is so awesome to know when you have this relationship with God that he's showing you, okay, you did that, you've paid the consequences. Now, you don't have to do this crazy stuff anymore. And that is so off the chain freeing to me. So I live a life that, I'm not all, rules and regulations and, I have to be, and I'm careful. Not that kind of thing where people call it super religious and religiosity and not relationship. I'm talking about being so aware that I have messed up. He has forgiven me, and I don't have to do it again. Awesome, wonderful thing. So as he's saying here, and that took me to what I just said, is that he will protect us. He said, when their wrath was kindled against us, then the waters would have overwhelmed us. The stream would have gone over our soul. Then the swollen waters would have gone over our soul. And it says, hey, despite what could have happened, blessed be the Lord who has not given us as prey to their teeth. And our soul has escaped as a bird from the snare of the fowlers. And the fowler is somebody who traps and snares, and then traps people, then traps animals. So the devil, the evil in the world, will entrap us. It will overwhelm us. It will wash over us and we'll drown from that kind of snare. So what David is saying is that, listen, I'm grateful to you. And I want you to know, I'm telling you, I want you to know that if it had not been for you, I wouldn't be where I am today. If it had not been for you, I wouldn't be who I am today. And so I'm David. I'm everybody. I'm every sinner in the sense that God doesn't, he's not a respecter of persons. So sin is sin. Big sin, little sin, sin is sin. So I wanted to share that with you because I think we get to the place in life where some of us, we get to the place in life where we become super, I've got this together. There's a lady that I know, it's kind of funny, ironic. She says, it's so amazing. She says some things to me that I just sit back, and I've learned not to correct people all the time, even though in my spirit I know what she's saying is a little off. And one of the things she said to me when she first met me, one of the many things she said was that I live according to the word of the Bible, and I do whatever I know that if it's wrong, I'm not going to do it. And I looked at her and I thought to myself, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? We can have the best of intentions how to live this life. But I tell anybody, if it's just you trying to make sure that you do the right thing, Not once did she mention that it's because of the Lord's goodness why she's able to stay away from doing crazy things. She never said that. And she's mentioned that to me several times. And she says, I have read the Bible. And I'm like, okay, I have not read the Bible from back to front. I have not. I'm honest. I'm being honest about it. But I tell you what, the things that I have read, the Bible verses and the chapters that I have read, I can tell you, as I said yesterday, I shared with you guys about being not just, as James 1:22 says, to just not be hearers of the word, but to be doers of the word. And I wanted so badly to say to her, you know what, sweetheart? It's fine that you've read it how many times, and you sit here doing notes when you shouldn't be doing notes. That's fine, but I don't see you living it. So I don't say anything about it. I'm learning to be quiet and let God do His job. So, but it amazes me, and she says things and does things to me, and she thinks I'm not aware how she feels about me. And I think she has this kind of love-hate relationship with me. She loves to hate me. Just kidding. But anyway, what I recognize is that she's very big on telling you how much she's read, how many times she's read the Bible. But I'm like, lady, come on. Are we going to let me see some of that stuff in you that you're talking about, that you've read about? So, but it's okay, because one of the most beautiful things about having a relationship with God and having Him instruct you and guide you and lead you is that He'll tell you to be quiet, and you'll be quiet, because there's no reason to kick up a storm and be crazy. So I love her. I know the things that she does and says that is not really cool, but I don't have to correct her. But I found out, and she told me not long ago, she told a co-worker of mine actually, that God placed us in the same room, meaning me and her, so that she can learn something from me. And that doesn't make me feel jaunty and proud. What it does, it makes me feel like, whoa, I can make a difference. Cool stuff, really cool stuff. So anyway, as I was saying before, though He protects us, though He watches over us from the enemy and keeps us covered and protected, we still have to pay the consequences of our choices. But with Him being with us and walking with us and talking with us and covering us, the blow is not that bad as it would be if we didn't have Him. I can speak of that from my own experience. So, lovely sharing with you as usual. I pray that something that I've said, something that I've shared, not because of me, but because of Him and your relationship, that something will move you, something will touch you, something will inspire you to do things differently. And for us to, I share whatever I've shared with you today, that you share it with others as you digest it, as thoughts and different feelings and things are revealed to you, that you will share it with others. And that as you share, that God will continue to multiply great blessings upon your life. And that you will not be so upset about the consequences of your choices, but you'll be grateful to pay them so you can move on to the next level. Folks, here in Atlanta, Georgia, sharing with you, Dr. Judith. Want to thank you for listening in. Any questions, any thoughts, feel free to do so. I'm a little unorthodox, and sometimes I introduce myself, sometimes I don't. But by the end of the program, I'll tell you again, I'll share with you again who I am. I'm Dr. Judith Barnes, sharing with you for the next past few days and days to come, my favorite Bible verses. Favorite because they challenge me, favorite because they demand that I grow and that I mature, favorite because they mean something awesome to me. And I pray that it does the same for you. It means something to you to read these words, to hear them reminded, hear them repeated to you, and that in due season it will come to pass that you've learned something new, something has changed, and your life will never, ever be the same again. This has been Dr. Judith in Atlanta, Georgia, wishing you all a wonderful evening, praying that we'll speak again soon. Take care. Until next time, walk good.